And welcome back to Game Escape. Here today with a somewhat different video and perhaps a little bit of a depressing video, but I think, it needs to be made for all those people who are really, really invested in games as I am. I had an experience this week, or actually now last week, that was a little bit disconcerting. And someone very, very close to me passed away. And as he was in the hospital, I was there with him, and I was actually there with him when he expired. And all throughout this process, I'd spent a couple nights in the room, and he was not really conscious, so I had a lot of time to think. And one of the things that I noticed was that in the room, his family had left a number of pictures, sort of pictures chronicling his whole life, in the event, that he might wake up when no one was there. And this person had what I would say, had a very, I think, kind of normal, well-adjusted course through life. Very, very active youth. He was just a little bit older than I was. Not a gamer at all. Family, sort of a lot of academic, professional success, and all of it was kind of chronicled so nicely in these pictures. And as I was sitting there, and I don't know if anyone out there has ever done this, but watching someone die is a very, very disturbing experience, and it's something that I think will stay with you forever. And it's also an experience that makes you kind of reflect back on your life, particularly if you can't communicate with that person, if they're at the stage where they're just existing, but are not really able to communicate. So I was there, and just thinking about, my life as a gamer, and how, precious life is, and how you have, as you kind of go through your daily routines, at least this is my experience, you kind of just get into a very sort of repetitive pattern, and you don't necessarily consider the value of life and the value of the opportunity or opportunities that you have when you're living. And it made me think back to gaming, and kind of my decision throughout most of my young adult and now adult life to spend a lot of time with video games. And I'm not here to say that I regret that, or that, when you're confronted with the end, you're going to look back and wish you had done something differently. That's really not the point of this video, but it's more to ask the question, what value does the experience of gaming have when you're in that situation, when you're kind of faced with your final hour? Will I, and of course, this is what was my main point of focus at this time, will I regret it, or sort of will I feel that I let myself down by engaging in this hobby? Now, I just want to say that, I'm not the sort of person, and I don't really think this sort of person exists, but I'm not the sort of person who is gamed to the exclusion of other things in life, to the exclusion of meaningful relationships, to the exclusion of professional success. That's not what I'm saying. I'm more of a person who, when work is over, when there's not social plans, with friends or with the girlfriend or something like that, I sort of sit down and game. And I've spent, like I said, most of my young adult and my adult life doing that. And it seems like it's a wonderful hobby. It's a wonderful way to spend your free time. But as I was sitting there in the hospital last week and kind of thinking about these issues, I wonder if at that point, when you are faced with your final hour, if you might wish that you had done something more, done something different with the free time that you have in life. And I don't necessarily think that this is a question that only gamers ask. I mean, if you're really engaged passionately in any hobby, even if you're sort of just someone who likes to watch TV, I think to a certain degree there's always this question of, could I have done more, or could I have done something differently? And I don't know that there is a good answer to this question. If you think back to all of the gaming that you've done, these are actually wonderful memories. I mean, there's kind of like a Dick Clark effect, I think, when he came out. Whenever he said this, I think it was Dick Clark who said this, that music is the soundtrack of your life. Well, I mean, I think for someone who grew up with gaming maybe in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, that, games are kind of markers of your progression through life. And at least if you've been playing them as intensely as I have, and I think other people on YouTube have indirectly pointed this out. I mean, this is a lot of what Johnny Millennium's channel is about. I did a video talking about how he discusses this issue of memory. But, you associate playing different games with different phases of your maturation. And I think that's a positive. I'm not sure that, you can look back on, say, or at least in my case, the summer of '93, when I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 every day in my friend's basement, or the first Christmas that I got my Nintendo Entertainment System, and sort of remembering family members who were alive at that time. But you never really know what your mind will be doing when you reach that moment. And you never really know when you're confronted with the question of mortality, of really a final end. Will gaming matter? I mean, it certainly won't matter more than friends and family, and perhaps the lives you've impacted or what you've done professionally. But I think there is this reality that if you've been playing games passionately and intensely as a hobby for 20, 30, 40 years or longer, and hopefully it will be longer for all of us, you've nonetheless devoted a lot of time, and you've created a lot of memories around this medium. And I just wonder, when you're confronted with the question of your own finite existence, are these memories sustaining? And it's really not a question that I can answer. Because on the one hand, it's just too easy to say, well, I could have just done more, I regret my choice to pursue this hobby. Gaming is a passion for me and a lot of other people, and I don't think you can write it off by just saying that it was completely meaningless and you should have scaled a mountain or run the New York Marathon or whatever the case may be. And I think people need hobbies. You need downtime and escapism. People need idleness. No one really talks about that, but people, I think, need and are entitled to just a block of free, unstructured time. And plus, if you pursue great experiences constantly, I mean, that becomes a fetish in and of itself, and I mean, I think great experiences happen, and you have to learn to appreciate them. If you constantly hunt them, then it becomes an obsession. And if you're just trying to inventory experiences, I mean, that also somehow, I think, cheapens the process of acquiring them. But on the other hand, when you contemplate mortality And when you contemplate, death, I think you're always confronted with this uncertainty and this doubt about your decisions. And I wonder how meaningful video game memories will be when you're in that process. And I mean, certainly that's why I'm doing this video, because as I was just sitting there watching my friend just kind of waste away, it puts all of your decisions in such a stark relief. And again, it's I think one of the more disturbing but also very interesting and unanswerable questions for not only gamers but passionate hobbyists of all kinds. So what do you guys think? Have you asked this question? Have you thought about the value that your memories and experiences with video games will have relative to all the other things that you've done in life? Again, can't answer it, but I would like to hear what other people have to say on this issue. And I'll just leave with one last thought, and that is, whatever we're doing in life and whatever our passions and our professional engagements might be, life really is such a limited, precious resource, and at the very least we should cherish our friends and our family and make the best decisions we can about how to use our time in it. So thank you for watching Game Escape, and I will be back shortly with a new video and a video that hopefully is a little more cheery. Take care.